kind of smooth and hypnotic, don't you think? Yeah, that's right. Jeez, I have to stop it. It's too much. All I need is this. Wild. Yeah, let's go this way. Yo-yo. Yeah, whatever. I can't even. I want to talk about universal battle tactics and what they look like in the hands of greenskins. That's what I want to do. Because that's something like, I gotta stay like true to the orc, right? I gotta stay like in that realm of greenskins. Because otherwise, there's just too much information. There's too much. I gotta digest these things slowly, bit by bit by bit. Slowly, 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 slowly. Oops. Where to even start? What a day, hey? So much going on. So much going on. Okay, I got my... How are you guys doing tonight? Good? Oh, Fridays always feel like, I don't know, I can kind of loosen up a little bit. Just a little bit. Just a little bit. Ugh. How do I sound? Sound good? Levels are good? I hope so. You 7 beers deep, not 7. I try not to drink. I do sometimes, but and when I do, it's usually just a couple. But beer is not my vice. Let's say everybody has a vice, right? All right. Shots, yeah, that's right. Yeah, shots. All right. So universal battle tactics. Let's see. I want to actually try to make a video out of this instead of just like, I don't think the stream will be putting on YouTube, to be honest. But we'll see. Universal battle tactics for greenskins. That's what we're doing. That's War Chanter. Thanks to my patrons. Buy some dice. Wybarian. I got my 10 patrons, so that's sick. 100 for 5th edition. That seems reasonable to me, right? Yeah. So let's look at these battle tactics. So to be honest, like I read them just like briefly before, and I was really happy with them. I thought they were like right on. So we're gonna look at them from we're getting a sense of what battle tactics might feel like for Cruel Boys and for Iron Jaws. We also are getting a sense of what they'll feel like for Gits. So we're gonna sort of talk about greenskins. Essentially, I feel like greenskins now is, we'll see if there is a like a stabas and shootas sort of list, you know, or if there's like a yeah, but there's basically squigs and trolls is kind of how it plays. So we'll see. Maybe fanatics are really good, and like if they, you know, who knows, like they might be sick. We'll see, right? Anyway, so we're going to kind of think about them in those terms. So first one, do not waver. You complete this battle tactic at the end of your turn if 2 or more friendly units fought this turn and no friendly units were destroyed this turn. So this is like, you know, on your turn, you're going to send in a second unit into a combat and you're going to kill the unit that you know, you were stuck in combat from the turn before. So this could be like brutes coming in to finish off a job. That'll be super easy for Iron Jaws. This could be like squigs popping in to kill a unit. This will be really good for like fast models and armies, right? So squigs will probably be pretty good at this. Trolls might have a tougher time just for the exact opposite reason. They're slow, but Iron Jaws have like lots of fast stuff, and they have like they can get going, right? And then for Cruel Boys, I think this will be good too. I think this will be maybe the hardest one for Cruel Boys because you'll want to be, well, we'll see, right? But like Cruel Boys have like good shooting compared to all those other armies. It's the only army that has good shooting, and I believe it will continue to have good shooting, right? Because it's shooting and destruction essentially. Anyway, whatever. But I have a feeling they'll still be like, you know, good shooting in Cruel Boys. So Cruel Boys probably the hardest, but even then, it's like, you know, the Sludge Rakers coming in. Like, to me, this seems actually pretty doable. You know, like we're fighty armies, right? So it's like for 2 units to fight and kill stuff, like we can do that. Especially with like Strike Last, right? Like that's sick. Like Cruel Boys Strike Last. So I don't know, like we'll see. But it's good. I like it. I like just the flavor of it. I like that it's simple, right? It's like right? Like it's great. Slay the Entourage, pick a unit in the enemy general's regiment. You complete this battle tactic if that unit is destroyed this turn. Phenomenal. So it's the general and 3 other units. You just have to kill one. So you're going to want to probably be killing them anyway. So if you see an opening where you can sort of get in and kill their honor guard or kill their general or kill something else in their regiment, and like you feel like you can reliably get the damage off. And again, like, you know, like we're fighty, like we're a fighty sort of army. So killing things is kind of what we do, be it from range or be it with squigs or be it with whatever, right? Like spells, like whatever it is, like Gobsprak, right? Like, you know, we'll kill hurt a caster in the general's regiment, and then from there we're gonna, like, you know, shoot it. Like, this is what we want to be doing anyway. So slaying the Entourage seems really good to me. Oh my god, I forgot about the chat. Oh my god, I'm so sorry, guys. Oh, how did I leave you behind? Oh, my apologies. Oh my god, I'm not even paying attention. Yeah, no, not bad on Cruel Boys. We can weaken them up with shooting and then fight. Yeah, exactly. It's all great. But yeah, slay the Entourage, great, sure. For all of these sort of destruction armies, right? Yeah, Trolls might be the weakest for the top one. For Do Not Waver. I mean, they're all, like, I don't know. They're all kind of just good for everything. Attack on 2 fronts. Okay, you complete this battle tactic at the end of your turn if you control 2 or more objectives that you did not control at the start of your turn, and at least one of those objectives was controlled by your opponent at the start of your turn. So you have to take 2 objectives, and one of them you have to take away. So you have to take away 1 and then take 1 at, you know, minimum. So this is a good, like, I'm going second, right? Because your opponent's gonna like take the center objective, and then on your turn you're gonna take it away from them. That's kind of the idea, I'm thinking. We'll see what objective feels like. And on some maps it'll be like easy, and on other maps this will be really hard, depending on what the like the battle plans are and where the objectives are and such, right? Because if there's like center objectives, like that's more doable than if there's only 4 objectives, right? 2 in yours, 2 in theirs. Yep. So this will be more contingent on that. You can also do little tricks too, right? Like, don't forget that if you deploy on an objective that you control it, so just deploy off of it, right? So that at the end of your turn you just sort of like touch a toe on it, right? And now you have the objective. So you can kind of like trick your way and do that a little bit. So this is probably fine for orcs too, right? For the same reason. It's like we're gonna charge, you know, something up the front, like be it Gut Rippers, or like we can take an objective in the middle. Iron Jaws will probably have an easier time of this, right? Like big pigs and just pigs in general, right? We'll have an easier time of taking this away than Cruel Boys will, I think. But Cruel Boys do like teleport, so maybe that'll be, yeah. So we'll see. Attack on 2 fronts might be better as a late game tactic. Yeah, this is a good late game one as well, so I could see that being true. I mean, it's kind of good at any point in the game, which is good, I guess. This one's okay. I wasn't as thrilled on this one. Because I think this one is way more contingent on the map. The other two I don't feel really are. They're going to be more like all the time, and this one's like, well, some maps lend itself to it and some maps don't, so... And like if there's only 4 objectives, it's harder than if there's 7, you know? So I don't know, this one's fine though, like it's good. Take their land. Pick a terrain feature wholly or partially within enemy territory and wholly outside friendly territory. You complete this battle tactic if you control that terrain feature at the end of your turn. So again, terrain works just like objectives. It's within 3 inches of it. So this one, I think, again, is just going to really depend on the map and like what your options are and where they are. But so this one, I feel like both of these, the first two are more like about fighting and killing. The second two are more about like positioning and objectives in terrain, right? So it sees the center. So this one, again, is just going to really depend, I think, based on what's going on. Take their land is so good for Cruel Boys. It is. That's true. Take their land is very good for Cruel Boys. Yeah, because you can just teleport beside it, and then you control it because you're going to have, 10 or 20 objective score on that piece of terrain. So it's like, yeah, you're just going to teleport out and be like, oh, my land. That's a really good point. I love that. Yeah, I mean, so for that reason, I think for Cruel Boys, it might matter less. This one might be more consistently used by Cruel Boys, which is good because we're playing a tactics game. Yeah, score sneaky stealing, right? And you'll get two chances at it, right? Like over that round. Although, I mean, you're it's true. Maybe you'll fail it and not, right? Because you have to. I mean, you could like take their. You could sneaky on their turn, and then on your turn take their land. Right? That would be like the safe way of doing it, so that you could. Because you can sneaky, and then if you fail, you can take their land and then try to get sneaky again. You could do something like that. But yeah, for the rest of them, I think that, probably Gits will have an easier time with Squigs. Like running up, just for being fast, like running up onto an objective. So the faster lists will have an easier time with Take Their Land, I think, than the slower lists, generally. Right? Just because they can just run a bunch of toes, like a bunch of hoppers could just jump on something and grab it easily. Seize the center. You complete this battle tactic at the end of your turn if 2 or more friendly units are within 3 inches of the center of the battlefield and are not in combat. This was just, yeah. Wasn't this just the Iron Jaws one? It's actually harder than you think, and some maps have terrain in the middle, so you have to be careful about that, like if you're setting up the table, right? But I think that with the match play, there's going to be terrain maps, so I feel like that's probably not going to be as much of an issue, but we'll see. Like, we have those cards, right? Like, that's going to be another video talking about those battle plans. So this one's kind of whatever. Like, these three, I feel, for a lot of armies, depend on the map itself, right? I haven't really looked at the maps, so, but the first two are more just slam dunks, I feel. And then of these three, Seize the Center is kind of boring. Yeah, it is pretty boring. The old one was 6 inches, and it was super easy to get, and it was like a freebie turn 1. This one is a little bit more... Like, do you really want to be in the center of the bat? Like, I don't know. I think it might even be better late game. Like, some of these I start thinking about what they're like on turn 4, turn 5. Because that's important, Like, having a plan for the whole game. Like, when are you killing things like turn 2, turn 3, turn 4? Same thing here, right? Turn 2, turn 3, turn 4. Probably not turn 5 or turn 1. Attack the 2 fronts is maybe even a good turn 1 play. Can't sneaky them over, though. But, yeah. Okay, what else we got? Take the flanks. You complete this battle tactic at the end of your turn if you have at least one friendly unit within 6 inches of each short battlefield edge, so that's left and right. None of these units are wholly within friendly territory, and none of these units are set up this turn. So this is, again, kind of dependent on the map. Sometimes it'll be easy, sometimes it'll be hard, depending on the map and the terrain, right? And then do you want to deploy really far out? Because you can't teleport them, but you can teleport them and then take the flanks in the future. So, for example, you could do something like just sneaky a unit of Bolt Boys over onto the side, right? And then from there start shooting, and then the next turn take the flanks. If they're still secure in all this, right? And on the other side, it's like, you know, something different. Same like we used to do with Dagox. Yeah. Yep. It's a pretty easy. I know that like Haywo's gonna hate that this is in the game. But I mean, overall, it's like I think the first two are pretty fantastic. Like I like them. And then from there, the rest of them are okay. They're all, again, like, depending on the map and stuff, but we'll see. We'll see how they play out. They're not, like, is it fair that they're just sort of, like vanilla? Like, they're just sort of, like, keeping it super simple and not really like, there's no risks here. Right? There's no risks here at all. It's like, kill some stuff, control some things, right? Be spread out. Right? That's it. Attack on two fronts. You can place back. Sure, where you're actually interacting with your opponent. Well, I mean, killing things is interacting with them, right? But like, yeah, like they're just kind of like meh. I hope that there's GHB battle tactics. I mean, there's going to be GHB battle tactics, right? And do we even use the universal ones if we're using the GHB ones? Does anybody even know that answer? Because we don't use the universal ones in match play. So do we? Is this even match play material that I'm speaking on right now? Or am I just making content about something that doesn't matter? Because if it's not match play, I don't care. Great video, Moss. One of your bests. I just can't. Oh, okay, well, should we change topics, I guess? Yeah, overall, kind of just like whatever. Like, kind of just whatever. Anyway, that's a video, I guess. Like, subscribe. Oh, God. Alright, well, that's over. Great. Let's see, what else is good? There was something else I saw. Oh, right, the battle plans. Now, were those in this... Yeah, here we go. But, like, I think I'm right, hey? That, like, it doesn't even matter. Like, it won't matter for match play. That's why they're so boring. Right? Like, the core ones are boring. They're just like a big yawn. But they're easy to understand. And they're generally applicable, right? It might, who knows? Yeah, I guess, but... Don't you think that... I don't know. I do not know. There's no rules in there about honor guards. So to me, that says that we won't use them. So but I wonder if it'll be in addition. That's always the question. Because for the longest time when I was getting into AOS, I thought that the seasonal rules were in addition to the core ones. Like the tactics and all that. So I kind of hope that they are. Although if those are the 5 if those are tactics, like you'll only have to score like a couple of the seasonal ones. And also if that's what they're like, if that's what all the shit. Oh, can't put it on YouTube now. No, the I had it in my head just out for a sec. What was it? It's gone. We shall see. Okay. Battle plan, limited resources. Okay, area, terrain, or obstacle. Obscuring terrain, small, medium. Place of power. So I feel like I have my table set up at home, like with my terrain, and I feel like I need to start like making sure that all my sort of sets, like my themed sets and all my whatever, have all these like this type of terrain. Like I have a plan about like, so okay, so this one has 4 small area terrain or obstacles. So what exactly does that mean? And make sure, like of all the cards, it's like maybe 6. There's 6 on one, so make sure I have 6. And make sure I have these area terrains and obscuring terrains. Right? So that it's like clear. Like it's going to be a big undertaking. Maybe they'll have 3 in the new GHB. Sure, I could see that. So you use the core ones and there's 3 new ones. Okay. Area, terrain, or obstacles. Screen turn this power. Limited resources. So this side, I guess it just shows you like whatever the map. That's all that this is effectively is the map. But then this one's the vice. Where's the rules for them? Right? Because I'm not missing anything. This is just there's no rules here. Okay, let's see. Battle plan 5. Close to the chest. Twist. At the start of each turn, the player that is not the active player must pick one objective in their territory to be the primary objective until the start of the next turn. So that whoever's going second, nope, on your opponent's turn, so both you and them. So when it's your opponent's turn, they pick an objective to be the primary objective. So they pick one in their turn. So when it's your turn, they pick a primary objective in their territory, and when it's your turn, you pick a primary objective that's in your territory. At the start of their turn, after their opponent has picked the primary objective, the underdog can roll a die. On a 5-up, their opponent must pick a different objective to be the primary objective for that turn. Interesting. That's interesting. So are you ewing the rule? Like how it's like a lot of words and complicated? Is that what you're ewing? Like just the language of it? Or are you ewing at something else? Or do I have like a booger in my nose? I can't tell. At the start of their turn, after their opponent has picked the primary objective, right, you'll just never get the primary. Oh, like it's sort of like a null rule. Like it's just never going to happen, so why bother? Right? Like ew, like boring. Like, you know, this is like a non-map, like a map where we ignore the thing. Okay. So each player scores victory points at the end of each turn as follows. Score 1 victory point if you control at least 1. Score 1 victory point if you control at least 2. Score 2 victory points if you control more. So control 1, 2, and then 2 points for more. So not 1, 2 more, but 1, 2 double more. Score 2 victory points if you control the primary. So it means that 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 points is sort of the maximum that you can score with your tactic, excluding the primary. 1, 2, 3, 4, and then no, because they're 4. Right? Battle tactics are with 4, so it's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, and then so it's a 10 score, so you can get 8. And then what's close to the chest? We don't even know what that looks like, right? Because we didn't see the other side of the card. Here's the card. Score 1, 2, and then more. So it has to be, the objective has to be wholly within your territory. God, this is going to be annoying. It's okay, guys, I got it. In their territory. So it doesn't say wholly within, it just says in. So I would assume you could pick any of your 3. Right? So, I mean, I don't know, like, you're gonna pick probably, like, this back one, right, to keep it super safe, and then maybe later in the game you'll pick one that's over here if something develops or whatever. But making your opponent roll again is interesting. That's the part that's interesting, because I think I agree with you that it, like, when you read it, it's kind of like, well, this is not going to happen, and it's kind of boring, and your opponent is always going to pick the best one, right? You know what I mean? No, because you pick it for your opponent. Hold on. That is not the active player who must pick one objective in their territory to be the primary. No, never mind. So it's like, haha, come get my... I pick a primary, you have to come get it. I pick the worst possible one. But then if it's a 5-up... It's actually kind of lame. On a 5-up, it's like you have to be the underdog, and then there's a 1 in 3 chance to to be able to actually do the thing that you just can't really do. Kind of agree, this one's kind of a flop. I almost feel like this just shouldn't have a die roll. It should just be, if you're the underdog, if you're the underdog gets to pick. Or the underdog can eliminate one that you can't pick. Because I understand why the die roll, like, they have to pick again. Right? Because if it's like, well, the underdog gets to make you re-pick again, well, then you just pick one you don't want. Right? Like, I understand why it is, but... So the underdog should just be able to pick one objective that you can't choose. Well, that's the idea. If you're the underdog, it matters if you actually hit it. So make it, like, actually doable, not a 5-up. Right? Not a 5-up. I hope they're all 10. I hope every single one is 10. That would make me happy. Okay, let's see the next one. We're looking for rules on this one. Shifting objectives. Okay, let's find shifting objectives. There it is here. Oh, I don't want this one. I want... Oh, that one looked interesting. Okay, so this is... whatever. The terrain matters a lot now. Right? The terrain is sort of part of the map and how you think about and play the map, which I like. There was a game I played in a league where as soon as I sat at the table and saw what the terrain was and sort of how it was positioned, just sort of what the terrain itself was. So the possibility of what I could, how I could position it was just like awful. And I lost that game. And I kind of knew going in, I'm like, I'm at a really big disadvantage right now. I was playing Big Y and I knew I had to split my army up. And it was like, and then I lost on one front, and then it was like, uh-oh, I kind of just lost on both fronts. When if my army was together, it would have been a lot better. Anyway, let's see. So, shifting objectives. Twist. At the start of each battle round, after determining the active player must roll a d3 to determine which objective is the primary objective for the battle round. The other two objectives are the secondary objective for the battle round. So it's just a random primary at the start of each battle round. So at the start of your turn, one of these gets rolled. That's the primary. And then you score 2 points if you control the primary. Score 1 victory point for each secondary objective you control. So you can control 1, control 2, but it's not control 1, control 2. It's secondary. So control 1 secondary, control second secondary, control primary for 2 points. And then 2 for more. So you'd have to control 2. So it's control. That's so silly. It's control 1, control 2, not primary, control more for 2, control primary for 2, and then battle tactics. So it's 10 again. Oh my god, sorry. It's 10 again. Yeah, sure. I like this one. It's random. It'll make for more interesting games. Right? It'll make for way more interesting games. Yeah, I mean, there's not really much to talk about, like, from an orc perspective, I feel. Because, like, you know, greenskins are very varied. And the maps all seem to be, like, pretty even so far. So I think we're gonna, like... I think almost all of our armies are gonna, like, objective control, because we're Destruction is primarily melee, right? So we're going to kind of be on all the objectives with a bunch of boys, no matter how you play greenskins, I feel. So if your army's weak to objective control, these maps are going to be harder for you. If your army's good at objective control, they're going to be better for you. It's going to be interesting, right? Because it's going to be like, rush Ard boys onto the objective and keep the brutes sort of lurking and see which direction they need to go. It's going to be good. I'm looking forward to it. Let's look at one more. I don't feel like I can speak intelligently on an orc perspective for this. You know, I don't feel like there's anything specifically orky that needs to be discussed. But I just like to read them. It's one of the reasons I started doing YouTube stuff in the first place. I was like, you know what? I'm going to sit here and read this anyway, or like make this list anyway, or figure out how to win anyway. So I might as well just hit play. Because as far as I know, nobody else is. Nobody. Just me. Covering the orcs. The vice. I wish there was like a world tournament, like Worlds or something. But instead of like doing teams or something, it was just Grand Alliance, or it was like 24 teams, 24 factions. Which one will take home the gold? So I could actually root for... Doesn't that sound amazing? Doesn't that sound like an amazing tournament? Right? 24 invites, one from every faction. Yeah. But now you'll get Kruleboys and Ironjaws, right? So that you get 2 green orc players. If only we could split Gits up. Gits, I don't think can be 2 armies. I mean, I guess it can, but it would need a full rebranding. If you wanted to make Gits like 2 armies, you would need to release a ton of like heroes and wizards and stuff. They have, I think, the units, right? Gits is fine. Like, Gits is fine, but I'm just saying that like Destruction could kind of use more armies, I feel. You know, like the moon is cool, but it's like you kind of have 3 armies, right? You could just call them like Spider Fang, right? Trog Herd and whatever. And then you would have to like release a bunch of units. So you'd have to release like Stabas for Trogs because there's no allies, right? So it'd be like, you know, like these kind of crazy or kind of different or kind of, you know, sort of Gits that are like that hang out with the Trogs. And there's a boss, he's like a Trog herder, and there's like a Trog wizard, right? Like be he like Molog or whatever, something like that, or like a witch, or both, right? Like a Fellwater witch, and then like maybe some like troll Gits. Like I imagine a Git on like stilts, right? Like trying to be at eye level with the rest of the Trogs, or you could have like, you know, like a madcap shaman on Troggoth as like a hero concept. You need to like release more units. The wonky hodgepodge of destruction. No, I know, kind of like Big Wa, right? But like, I guess ultimately what my bias is that I like trolls and I like greenskins of all kinds, and I would love to see more. And this is a way of getting more. If Squigs was its own army, you would have like all these Squig heroes and all the, right? You'd have like you'd have to have new like Squig mages. You'd have to have new like some more heroes, right? You'd have to have some different heroes. I'm pissed Big Wa is gone. I was until I saw Cruel Boy rules. and then I was like, okay. Cruel Boys was how I started the game, and I love the aesthetic of Cruel Boys a lot better than I do of the other orcs. Like I like Cruel Boys has a special place in my heart, and the fact that they're going to be kind of like, they're going to replace Big Wa in play style. You're going to have like still like some good monsters and some good shooting and some good wizards, but now you sort of have more of like anvil options just because of like sneaky and strike last, right? So it's like suddenly like if you have venom encrusted weapons on a unit of gut rippers, suddenly that's like actually a good play because like I don't think Bolt Boys are going to have mortals. I don't think they're going to have crit mortals. I think they're gonna have crit auto wound, just like the thing. Like they are removing ranged critical attacks from the game. Like that's like they're doing that. That's how it feels. Anyway, so I bet you it'll be crit auto hit, and you can venom encrusted weapon them, so it happens on 5s and 6s, right? So it's like, but they won't be mortals, and so mortals will matter more, you know. Like I think it was a reinforced unit of Gut Rippas, venom encrusted weapons will increase the mortal wound output by like 7 on average. And going from 7 mortal wounds to 14 mortal wounds is a lot of mortal wounds, right? That like removes a unit of brutes. Like that removes 5 brutes. So if you're like strike lasting reinforced brutes, you're going from 5 brutes to, or from 10 brutes to 5 brutes. Like you're cutting that unit's damage in half. So that makes you an anvil. Because, right, that makes you an anvil. They're really fighty units will, like, you know, if you can sort of hit them with the right buffs and stuff. I love Cruel Boys, but orcs have tiny model lines, so I think Big Wall was a fun option. I agree. I'm also, like, don't get me wrong, I'm sad it's gone. But I understand why it's gone, and I sort of agree with why it's gone. Like, when I really kind of, it's like, it's hard to balance a soup. Is that even a thing? Like, is that even an option? Well, I always know, I don't, not that I can't, but I don't want to, because I don't, like, I'm not super mathy. And I know that the calculators online won't do it because I can't make them crit on a 5, because that would be really what I would like to know, is how much they do with venom encrusted weapons. Right? And so I've never found a damage calculator that's just like, oh, on a 6 do this, and on a 5 do that, and on a 2 do this. Because that's all you need is like a drop-down menu that's like on a roll of 6, or on a roll of drop-down menu, right, do X. So the new damage calculators, I'm sure, for AOS 4 will have like drop-down menus for like crit mortals and all those keywords, right? Because it's so streamlined. So that's really good. Anyway, so with, and I don't, you know, I don't have the profile or whatever either, but they're going to be good still. I just hope they have like a aim shot, hasty shot. I feel like the aimed shot, hasty shot is like a good idea. I like the feel of it. I think it's good. For orcs in particular, it's like the boys are running up into the fight, and if they're sort of, you know, because they are still orcs, right? They're not sitting on top of a hill. Like they're still boys. They're running in with the lads, right? And that makes them better. Like they get into that battle fervor, and they're just like, blah, and just shooting all over the place. I hope they do. I can't remember if the, I mean, we can always just check it out. Let's just Google it. Warhammer community. I gotta do a video where I just sit down and go through all of these, like, faction by faction, or like Grand Alliance by Grand Alliance. Or did I just do what I think I did? I mean, these guys, this guy doesn't have an aim shot, hasty shot, right? So that could be pointing in the direction that they don't, that they just like shoot, but. Well, they're trying to get rid of things that were kind of busted. And not just like specific things that were kind of busted by altering their points, like concepts that were busted. And they keep doing that, right? Like they did that from 2nd edition to 3rd. It's like shooting twice, turns out, is way too powerful. You know? Teleporting pigs into mighty destroyers is overpowered and not fun. Doesn't lead to a fun play experience. We've all been there where we've been charged in the butt by something, right? And it just like teleported in behind us and did some BS movement, right? Like Feck and their carrying call spell where they get to move D6 after being set up 9 away. So it's like, well, +1 to charge is good. So rolling a 1 on a D6 is good. Derp. Like, oh my god, +1 to charge. If I could deep strike 9 inches and then get +1 to charge, like, yep. You know, that's great. Sign me up. I'm going to re-roll that. I'm coming in, baby. But, yeah. Same with Mighty Destroyers. It's just BS. It's like, oh, I'm 3 away. I have a 3-inch charge on this huge unit of buffed up pigs. Like, it's not fun. So, first time chat, Dr. Doll. Do you have any recommendations going from a beginner to intermediate as fast as possible? So the question, I'm sure, where I'm really not liking my game sense and overall knowledge. You have to read. You want to, if you're like a beginner and you sort of understand like the fundamentals of the game, you just got to read. Right? Practice deployment. Yep, that's another really big one. Tabletop simulator. Right? Deploy. Like, do you have Tabletop Simulator? I can show you really quickly what I mean. Unless you're familiar with it. Sourdough. Have I heard about Old World? Something specific, or like, I know what the game is. I don't play it. Whatever. I do not play the Old World. I'm like a one game kind of guy. Oops. Shoot. Oh, whatever. I don't even care about the army, necessarily. Let me see here. I do no idea how it really works, but I got it a few days back. Oh, okay. Installed Storm Vault. Old Worlds of the game and waiting 15 years for their release. Definitely practice deploying. Screening is so important for Cruel Boys. I mean, like, if you have some friends that you can do, like, a play group with, right? So it's like these are your friends and you're learning and everyone's learning. Don't play out full games. Just play the first turn. Like, play the first turn. And then sort of reset. Like, change maps, change the thing, right? And then, like, start again and be like, deploy, and then talk about, just sort of talk about it, and then take the first turn, and then, because if you're going to hang out with your friends, like, not just deploying or whatever is lame, like, you actually want to play the game. So you can play the first turn, maybe the second turn, and then maybe if you've done that 2 or 3 times, now you might finish out a game if, if you're going to go super late or something, if you're going to play for like 6 hours, 7 hours. Well, screening is just like one of those things in this game. It like doesn't really matter what army you play. It's like you're going to have to screen. You're going to have to learn how to, like, move units around and how to, like, and then what your army does, like, there's a lot. Like, this game is really high skill ceiling. So, like, like, still now, like, I'll play with people that they just do a thing, and I'm like, oh my god, like, you can do that. Anyway, so here's the thing I have for Tabletop Simulator, whatever, the units don't really matter. But you just go like this, you're like, well, I'm gonna shuffle or whatever. I guess there's no whatever, but I'm gonna go this map. So this is limited resources. This is 5. This is the old 3rd edition stuff, right? So here's the map. Here's the territory. Let's put this terrain on, and then I'm gonna deploy. I'm gonna practice my deployment. I'm gonna go like whatever, me and my friend, or I'm gonna do it alone. I'm just gonna be like, well, what happens if I put all these things over here? Like, what's within range of this? And like, does this have to be over here? And do I want my front guys over here? Do I want to flank, or like whatever? You sort of do it, and then after you're done, you just kind of like, you're like, okay, good deployment. I like it. This is why I like it. Or maybe I do this differently. Whatever. You just remove it, and then you just recall it, and then you change it. You're like, I'm gonna go to this map now. And you're like, cool. And then you're like, let's put this terrain on. Start again. Oops. Right? And then you're like, start again. Do it again. So you can sit here by yourself and like deploy by yourself. And come up with a plan of how you're going to deploy. And then with your friends, you can do the same thing, but you can actually play the game. Because that's why you're hanging out with your friends, right? Not just it's also easy in Tabletop Simulator, right? Just the variety of like terrain and how easy it is to set things up, right? Yep, planning out your tactics. And so after that, like after you've practiced deploying a bunch and practiced this a bunch, then I would say you need to have a very clear plan of everything you're going to do for the full 5 turns. Like what battle tactics are you going to get, kind of when, what command points you're going to use, and like what turns you're going to use them on. You just have to have like a written plan. Not a silly question. Well, I'm not sure how relevant it's. Deploying is probably going to be a lot easier in 4th edition than it was in 3rd edition. But like in 3rd edition, Like I could do something with orcs, for example. What army did you say that you play? Are you a Cruel Boys player? Or an Ironjaws? Gits player, right, sorry. So in 3rd edition with Gloomspike Gits, what I could do is I can take like my Squig herd, and they can like move in the my hero phase, and then move again and run. And if they're under the light of the bad mood, then charge, so they can move like this stupid distance, right? Like really far. And so if my opponent has like left holes in their line where my squigs can like sneak in, they could like eat a hero in the back, right? So if my opponent hasn't like deployed properly and like zoned me out, or if you're playing Stormcast Eternals, for example, the poster boys, right? They have like a rule where half of their army just stays in reserve, and then they just put them anywhere on the map outside of 9 inches and then charge you and stuff. So if you sort of deploy poorly, then they can, you know, like drop in units and shoot you, because like shoot your heroes because you left them out of position, right? Like deployment is huge. Like once you lose because of your bad deployment before the game even started, you'll understand why deployment is important. There's games that I play where I know that I've won the game before the game starts. I've seen my opponent. This happened at a GT last summer. My opponent like put their army out funny, and I was like, okay, and then I won the game. I knew already that the game was over. I played this Lumineth player, and they put all of their units on the back edge, like in a big line, as if they were going to keep their whole army as far away from me as possible. But my Maw Crusher could get that far. So I just put my Maw Crusher in front of where his heroes were on the line, and then charged them, and they had no screen, and I just killed all his heroes, and the game was over. Like before the game even started, I'm like, this game's over. Even if he goes first, it doesn't matter. This game's over. Yeah, Annihilator charge, drop in behind you. Yeah, Flesh Eater Courts, resurrecting units behind you. All kinds of crazy things. So having said all that, I think there's a lot less of that overall in 4th edition, right? I think that they're toning down like the deep strikes and the teleports and the recursion and all this, so I feel like it'll be more forgiving in 4th edition, but I still feel it'll be like fundamentally, again, deployment is just part of the bigger picture of having a plan. You need to have a plan. How am I going to win? How am I going to win? How am I going to win if my opponent is a really aggressive melee army? How am I going to win if my opponent is a really shooty heavy army? How am I going to win if they're nothing but giants and big monsters, right? Like, what's my plan for all these conditions? How am I going to actually win this game? Because if you don't have a plan, you can't, you know. So it's like a really big part of this game. And have notes. Bring notes. Bring your own notes, and don't miss any of your rules. Like, remember every rule you get. Like, don't forget anything. You know, like, squeeze every bit of value out of your rules. That's another way to win. Play people that are better than you. Right? Don't play players that are worse than you. Just play people that are better than you. Right? You'll learn, like, there's lessons that people just kick my butt and I'll never forget. Does that answer your question? Play a lot of games. Play on Tabletop Simulator. Right? Like, because another thing about Tabletop Simulator that I really like is if I got my friends together to play, or like a friend, we can play for an hour and save the game and come back to it another day. Right? We don't have to kind of like play it all in one night. We can be like, oh, it's a Tuesday or whatever. Like, hey, I got an hour to kill. Hey, me too. Let's play our game that we had going for about an hour. Right? Oh, let's each take a turn and call it a night or whatever. Right? Just like catch up a little bit, whatever it is. Crazy high skill ceiling. Yep. Well, I mean, like, the fact that you want to do it means that you will be good at it, if that makes sense. Because a big part of, like, obviously your sort of natural ability as a tactician, right? And, like, your IQ, like, how quickly you can remember information. Like, obviously those things are going to matter to being good at this game. Your competitive nature, right? Things like this are going to play a role in if you win games or not. But a really big part of winning games in this game is just those that have done the work and those that haven't. If you don't do the work, like, you can't be good, if that makes sense. But if you're willing to like put in the work and read all the rules and watch all the videos and think about it, if you're like an obsessive person like I am, right? Like I'm a one game kind of guy, and well, at least one tabletop game, and I'm just like I want to just like learn everything about this game. I want to know everything there is to know. I want to know your rules better than you know them. That's a power move at a table, by the way, for a tournament, just to like correct your opponent on their rules. People do not like that. It makes them nervous. It's a power move. But like, oh no, actually, like it's different because like I know your rules better than you. You can check if you want, but like it's only, you know, whatever. Like it's things like that matter, you know. And like a tournament, like for example, if people know you from YouTube, right, they'll probably play worse against you than if you're just some little guy. Or if you're like a really big, tall, muscly guy, right? People will play worse against you than if you're like a small, little, polite dude, right? So you get add all those things up, right? It's like, oh, I'm like a YouTube superstar, and I'm really handsome and 6'4", and I'm like, I know I'm a genius too. I know all the rules. It's like that guy's winning all his games. It's actually not that hard to know all the rules. Like, I don't know. Not if you do the work. Like, for example, here, tell me what you think of this idea, okay? I'm not sure if you guys are familiar with my YouTube stuff. I assume you are. But I was thinking that when the rulebook actually comes out, that what I want to do is just sit down and read it. Just make a video of me just reading it from cover to cover, or maybe in like little chapters or something, you know? So that while I'm doing the dishes, I can just listen to me read the book for my own sake, right? Just listen to the rules over and over and over and over again while I'm doing other stuff, right? And I bet you that like on the fourth read or listen through, you'll listen to it for like an hour or whatever, and you'll be like, oh, like I learned one more little thing. Right, okay. And then you'll listen to it twice more and learn nothing, but then you'll listen to it once more and you're like, oh, okay. Yeah, definitely make it separate videos, right? So you can listen to sections that you're less comfortable with or whatever. I don't know. I don't think they would like get a ton of views or whatever, but I just feel like I would do it just for my own sake. Like no commentary, no nothing, just like read the book, right? And then so you can listen to it. Because I always wanted that. Like I always wanted an audio version of those kind of things because it helps me learn them, right? Just like repetition over and over and over again. Yeah, group them into playlists. Yeah. No, it would be like the core rules. Well, it would be the core rules, the seasonal rules, and then like all the green skins. I don't just cover Iron Jaws. I cover green skins in general. So Cruel Boys, Iron Jaws, and Gloom Spike Hits. Yeah. Well, I mean, reading the rule books or whatever they're going to be called for the factions. I mean, yeah, like yeah. I mean, it's basically just like everything that I would want, that I need, right? Which is just green skin stuff and the core stuff and the GHB stuff or whatever. You get the idea. And then, of course, a ton of videos just like commenting on them and critiquing them and talking like what's good and how we're going to win and whatever. Yeah, all that stuff's kind of outdated now. Gits. Gits are fun. I like gits. Everybody likes gits. Orcs are better. Yeah, orcs are better. Orcs are the big boys. I miss Big Wah. I hope, yeah, I mean, I guess I could play those things, I don't know. It makes me look kind of sad. Maybe I'll do like some crazy, I don't know, casual game. 4,000 points of Stormcast Eternals against 4,000 points of Greenskins. I think we might get something if you could point out interesting interactions, nothing excessive, but if the average player... Yeah, I mean, that's basically what I've been doing for a year and a half, making just like stupid, hey, check this out, hey, you know, you can do this, hey. Sorry, Stormcast is so boring. Dude, I have 6,000 points of Stormcast and I never, ever play them. Ever. No joke, I have 6,000 points of Stormcast. I just got like, I bought a used lot just recently. It was so cheap. but it had like a Celestant Prime. It had the old big dragon, Lord Celestant on Star Drake, I think. And then just a ton of models, tons of different stuff. What else? It had more centerpiece stuff. All the endless spells. Oh, right. It had 4 of those dragons, and then the hero dragon, like 4 of like the knight on Star Drake or whatever they are. Right? And then it had like the hero version. So it's like a lot of dragons. But yeah, I never play them because they're boring. Right? It's like, oh, these are shooty units, they shoot. Oh, these are chargey units, they charge. It's like, yawn. No, no like synergies between War Scrolls. We'll see what the next book's like, but probably be the same. I agree with Honest Wargamer that Cities of Sigmar should be the poster boy unit or poster boy faction. I agree. Their names are stupid. Liberator, Prosecutor, Judicator. It's like there's a whole courtroom. You have the whole courtroom. Oh, we are the mighty bailiffs. Like, give me a break. I feel like that bailiff joke was really funny. Oh my god. It's too hot in this room. I'm thirsty. Fuck. What else is on your mind? What else do you guys want to talk about? It's gonna be great. Yeah, ask me more questions about Gits. Cause that's cool. Can I buy you a coffee? Doesn't seem like you have donors open. I don't on Twitch because I just like yesterday got the invite to do the affiliate or whatever it is, right? So I have to fill out some tax information, so I don't have that on Twitch. I do have it on Patreon, but that's like recurring, right? But oh, you can also just join the Discord. I guess nothing is linked, or you must be in the Discord. Yeah, you can just hang out in the Discord. Oh, Discord's kind of where everything works. But I'm trying to get that Twitch stuff open. Oh, you could have been my first like Twitch donation. Oh, can I connect it through here or whatever? I assume I assume everybody finds me through YouTube. Oops. Because otherwise, I didn't even ping this. I didn't even ping this. Studios. Is it Bond Dingles? Is that how you say your name? Oh. Because I didn't post anything in Discord. Oh, that's cool. Bone Dingles. Nice. It's a good name. Yeah, I don't know. What else is, Orcs are gonna be so good. Yeah, I mean, ugh. Which one of these didn't I really look at all? Oh, they have, oh yeah, I did read that one. Which one interests y'all the most? Do you want my take on the Gits book? Since you're here? I don't know. I ran out of stuff that I wanted to talk about. So here's a question. How new to this game are you? Sourdough. Are you like super new? I have the time. I got nothing really going on. Just kind of waiting for my wife to show up and see if she wants to play some games or something. There's so much news going on with Warhammer right now, and I have like I've been working, so sitting around reviewing stuff seems reasonable to me. super new, maybe a month, and Piniunis in 3 months. You should play Spearhead when it comes out. And the... Like, where'd it go? I really think if you're new to the game, you should play Spearhead. Are you new to, like, table... If you're new to tabletop gaming in general, then I'd 100% tell you to start with that. Oops. Oh, right. I'm an idiot. It's because it's not my usual one. I'm just downloading this thing like a million times. Okay. Yeah, right here. Right, it's like they say this in the book, right? Spearhead, Fire and Jade, Path to Glory, match play. I like, unless you, like, I'm not sure how you're getting into it. Like, if there's like a, like if you play at a store, or if it's like a friend of yours that got you into the game. Like, if obviously if you're playing with like some close friends of yours and you're playing like, and they're all playing 2,000 point games like match play, then obviously you just dive right in. But if you're playing with more like a loose group or like a store or something like that, then I would say just start with Spearhead and play that, because you'll definitely get a sense about what the different armies do. I mean, you're playing Gits, right? So, but you'll get a sense about what all the other armies do, like your opponent's armies, and you can try out some different stuff like relatively easily. And then when you're kind of like, okay, I get it, then you can sort of go like Path to Glory or just go straight to match play. I've ordered the Spearhead box with a buddy, but I have a nearby local game store. I've got a few models right now, like 500 points roughly. Right, so I would start with like Spearhead and Path to Glory. I would do like this progression. I'd say if you're 4 games in, cut yourself some slack. You haven't even learned the game yet, really. No, do the opposite. Like, be really hard on yourself and beat yourself up over it, and like sever the like relationships in your life, and then just like dedicate yourself fully to never ever losing again, right? And then just like become the best player that ever was. Do that. That's way better. That's what I did. Everything. But yeah, because, you know, like Spearhead's like roughly 1,000 points. Is that what you did? No, what I did was I bought the game at a game store with my wife on a whim, knowing nothing about what it was or anything about it. I sort of knew what Warhammer was, but not like I'd never learned anything about it. We brought it home. My wife is a rules lawyer, so between her and I, like reading the rule book, playing the game, and asking around on Discords, and then I did the work, right? Then I learned what Wikipedia was. I joined a bunch of Discords and YouTube pages, read, listened to videos, asked questions online, right? Just like studied it, played it, expanded my play group, started playing at a local game store, started playing with more people, started joining GT, started joining leagues, started like making YouTube content, started writing lists, and then just like work until you're good. Like, that's what I did. I just worked at it, right? Because if you keep working, then you'll get there, right? If you're overwhelmed and you're not engaging with it, you won't learn it. But if you just keep consuming things, you'll just kind of get there. Get a plan. Have a plan. That's a big one, though. Have a plan. Have a written plan of what you're going to do every turn, how you're going to spend all of your resources, command points and battle tactics in particular, and how you're going to close the game out. Like, and then visualize how you're going to win on the board, and then like move your units in such a way that you realize your plan. And sometimes that means like taking risks, or that means like whatever, or that means understanding that part of your plan has failed, and so you need to do something else instead. Watch some battle reports, but battle reports are so boring. I can't stand watching battle reports. I kind of like the ones from, I shouldn't say I can't stand them, but I don't generally like them. I watch them to review them for YouTube content. I'm going to do so much of that in 4th edition. What are they called? Seasons of War. I like their videos. Oh, this is not probably a good example. Whatever, they have like their like little intro stuff, right? Oops.
War bridges across.
To survive.
Right, whatever, talk about their lists and all this, but then when they kind of get into the game,
Which I do, Dad, because my general's dead.
they talk,
No, we got 2. So we're up to
but they do a pretty good job of being concise, and then there's lots of editing. Right, so you can see here, like, there's editing of how they move, and then it's like, okay,
Let's go into...
more talking, more editing,
If you finish your charge, I'm gonna unleash hell into the night.
lots of editing.
Okay, so just one night. Go
Right,
down.
so they're sort of cutting it down to only the key things, and then it's good. I'm really competitive, so I hate losing all the time. Yeah. We'll take your advice to heart for sure. Any chance I can get better at juggling multiple things in my head? I tend to tunnel vision a lot. Gonna take your advice. Appreciate you. Just like any mental exercise in your brain, like doesn't matter what it is. You can think in this way of your brain as like a muscle, and the more that you practice the skill that you're trying to improve, the more that you will get better at that skill. Right? It's like you get better at doing push-ups by doing push-ups. You get better at memorizing 10-digit numbers by memorizing 10-digit numbers. So to that extent, you could also like do other activities that are similar to what it is. So juggling lots of things in your head. Well, do other things where you have to juggle lots of things in your head, like real-time strategy games. But it's not even about juggling lots of things in your head. I'm telling you, it's about having a plan. It's about having a plan, and then it's also about like recognizing patterns. So you'll notice like, oh, if this situation sort of arises, if I take this reaction to that situation, then it's advantageous for me. There's some combination of things that I can do. Learn from your mistakes because battle report videos make tons. Yeah. Yep. Play with people better than you. Right? Roger, Roger. Yeah, we're talking about gets, right? That was, wait, let's, I wouldn't mind going over the gets rules again, because again, I kind of play them. And I feel bad because... I need to, like, shake my head a little bit about gets, because I have to make a confession, and it's something I've been thinking about lately quite a bit, is how, like, when I've read the beginning of every single one of these rules, I've always felt that they were bad. My gut impression was that they weren't good. I felt that way for Cruel Boys, I felt that way for Iron Jaws, I felt that way for Gloom Spike Gets. With Cruel Boys and with Iron Jaws, I spent some time and I really thought about them, and I sort of digested them, and then I felt a lot better about it. But I feel like almost my gut response to Gits, it was the same, but I haven't taken the time to properly digest it. So I'm gonna have another look at them, but I need a break because I've been doing this for an hour, so I need like to take 5 minutes. So if you wouldn't mind, I'll just be back in a couple minutes. It's really hot in here too. How about we put up this thing here? BRB. I got caught between songs there. Tripped myself out. Alright, well, I'm just gonna pretend you guys were talking to each other, not to me. It's probably what you were doing. Alright, gets. Oh, I didn't get a drink. BRB. Okay. Under the light of the bad moon. During the battle, an area of the battlefield will be the bad moon's location. See the bad moon's orbit. The bad moon's location will either be a quarter of the battlefield or the center of the battlefield. While the bad moon's location is on the quarter of the battlefield, all Glimlip its units, friendly and enemy, wholly within that quarter, are under the light of the bad moon. So it's kind of a cool thing that it's both. Like, you don't want the mirror matchup, right? Because it's kind of whatever, but... Anyway, while the bad moon's location is in the center of the battlefield, it takes the whole thing. Yep. While the friendly Glimlip its unit is under the light of the bad moon, the appropriate effect below applies to it. So this is the same as it is in 3rd edition, pretty much. Non-squig moon clan unit add 3 to its control score, except for like the specifics, right? But the general rule is pretty much the same. Add 3 to its control score. So, like, this to me is neither good or bad, because gets like a moon clan all by themselves are kind of only good and bad depending on what their ability on their war scroll is. Like, they're not going to deal any damage. So if they can like grab an objective from further away, like the cat in 3rd, they'll be good. And then 3 to the control score, like we'll see. Cool. Squig unit, you can re-roll the random characteristic roll for its move characteristic. So this is much weaker than it was before. But everything's kind of weaker than it was before, right? So it's like, okay, they can't run in charge, but you can re-roll the random number for its move. So it's going to be a d6. So you get to re-roll the d6. It's like, okay. I mean, what do you re-roll? 3-ups? Or you re-roll 3s and lower? But you just take the 4. Unless you really need the 5. Cool. Add 1 to saves for Troggoths. Very strong. Very good. Spider Fangs, crit on 5s. All of this depends on what these attack profiles are. Right? Like, if the attack profiles have lots of dice and they do good damage, then this ability will be good. Right? They weren't very good in 3rd. Okay. And then the Bad Moon. Once per battle round. Start of battle round. You must use this ability at the start of the battle round. We don't care about multiple units, whatever. If it's the first battle round, right, pick a quarter, and then it's like on a 4-up, the Bad Moon moves, and on a 1 to 3, the Bad Moon stays. Right, and then it moves from 1 quarter to the middle to the opposite quarter and then off the table. And then Scragrot lets you predict this roll. That's one of the reasons why Scragrot's so good. Scragrot's really good because if the moon moves on turn 1, then you get the moon for sure, guaranteed turn 2 and turn 3. That's kind of what you want. You want it like guaranteed 2 and 3. Or you want 2 and then guaranteed 3. You could also do like 3 and guaranteed 4, but you have to kind of play around these things. So it's kind of skill testing and interesting, but you can kind of just get screwed. Like, it sucks if, like, oh, you roll low, the moon stays, and then turn 2, it's like, oh, okay, it's going to move this time. No, you roll low, it stays. And then on turn 3, you use Scragrot's auto-move them, right? You're like, I can't go 3 rounds of bad luck. And then right after that, it goes to the opposite quarter, like the turn after that, and you're like, well, womp womp, like, it feels kind of bad when that happens, so you have to kind of play around it a little bit. I think he's in the thing, so we'll get to him, I think, here in a bit. Basically, the important thing to remember is that Like the Bad Moon moves, right? On a 4-up it moves, on a 1 and 3 it stays. And then like all the units get these buffs, right? When they're under the light. Yeah. Control score is like probably fine. This move thing is, I think, probably good. Like run and charge is better, but I think that this is good. Just movement in this game is strong, and so better, faster moving seems good. And everything got a little bit slower, so we'll see what the actual move scores are, but I feel like this could be actually pretty strong. +1 save on Trogs is really good, and then Spiderfang again, we'll see if it's good. But okay, this battle formation. So this is just the fangs or whatever from the Jaws of Mort from the previous one. On a charge, add 1 to the attack characteristic of the squig itself, right? Not the rider, just the squig. So this is good, right? Like this was good. This is probably like a safe choice, right? Like if you're playing a ton of squigs, this is a safe one. Like this will be good. It'll give you value, right? So like this is probably never bad if you're running a bunch of squigs ever. Sneaky distraction. This is one of those unlimited spells, so you can your heroes can cast this as many times as they want between them. Like each one can try once. On a 7, right? Until the start of your next turn. So this would be all of your turn and then all of your opponent's turn. Subtract 1 from hit rolls for attacks made by enemy units while they are wholly within 12 inches of the caster. The shaman, unnatural shrill cries. From hit rolls for attacks made by enemy units while they're wholly within 12 inches of the caster. Wholly within 12 is kind of rough. For enemy units to be wholly within 12 is difficult. It means that if it's like a really large unit, like a reinforced unit, this won't happen. It also means that if it's like a big monster, like if it's a big base, this will be really hard to get in wholly within. So, I mean, this doesn't seem particularly strong. Yeah, wholly within 12 of the casters, kind of yikes. Because right now, Gobapalooza has their Fungal Cloud ability. I think it's the Shrewmancer. It's his War Scroll spell. But like everybody, all your friendly Gloomspike gets units wholly within 12 of the caster get -1 attacks against them, or -1 to hit against them. So this is like you have to target the enemy. Until the start of your next turn, subtract 1 from hit rolls for attacks made by enemy units while they are wholly within 12 inches. Like, I'm not misreading this, right? Like, I'm not misreading this. It's not like you, right? Like, you're targeting an enemy. Yeah. So, I mean, the idea is, I think that it's unlimited. It also goes off on a 7, yuck, right? Blech. But it's the unlimited part, so it's like a bunch of different wizards can cast it, I guess. I don't know. Well, if it just said within, right? Because then it's like, well, if you get within 12 of me, I can give you -1 to hit. -1 to hit isn't even that strong of an effect. Like, it's good, but it's not like it's really powerful. Yeah, it's an aura on your own wizard. So I guess if you got him in, like, you'd have to sort of get him in there, you know? And he'd have to, like, grab, like, 3 different people. Like, I guess this is, like, a good spell, like, if you're caught in the fray of it all, you can be like, okay, well, I might just want to hit for everything around me. Situationally good. I think, actually, on another take, because the way that spells work in 4th is different. All of your heroes can cast all of your lore. Like, there'll be a ton of these, like, or not a ton, but some Lore of the Clammy Dank spells, right? And your wizards can cast, and like, all of them. So all the spells become, like, situational almost. Like, a spell will live and die based on when it's good. So if this is good, then it's like a toolbox, right? Is this a good tool to have in your toolbox? Is Sneaky Distraction a good toolbox spell? Maybe, actually, you know? You know, maybe as a toolbox kind of idea, like it is good to have an effect like this. Only time will tell. Okay, here's Scragrot. So here's the his hero phase ability, the Fangs of the Bad Moon ability. Nope. That's not right. It's this one. You declare the Bad Moon orbit, right? The Loon King's Entreaty. You can choose whether the Bad Moon moves to the next location or stays in its current location instead of rolling the dice. So ideally, you use this on turn 2 after it's already moved into the middle, because you got lucky on that first roll, right? And then you use this to keep it there for a turn. So if you know the moon, if you roll a 4-up on turn 2, you're like, okay, now on turn 3, I'm going to use Scragrot, so I know that for 2 turns, I get Bad Moon everywhere. Let the party begin, right? Like, now your gets are like full fucking fury. So that's this ability, and that's why Scragrot's really good. It's one of the reasons, is this ability. Another reason is because of this spell. So in 3rd edition, this casting value was super low, but now they made it a 7, so it'll fail more often, which is probably fair, right? Like, this is fair to me. So you roll, if you successfully cast a spell, it's going to be at a minimum of 7, but it could be to a maximum of 12 dice. And then for every 3-up, which is a good roll, usually these things are like 5-ups or 4-ups. A 3-up is particularly good. And you get 1 mortal damage, so it'll pump out some damage. And the range is pretty good, 18 inches, right? So it used to be 24, but they're kind of nerfing all this stuff, but it'll still be good at 18 inches. You're just gonna have to kind of get in the fight a little bit better. But that's a really powerful spell, just like compared to other spells. He's like a little missile guy, like pew, like he's good. And then this is like whatever. If you redeploy, if you roll a 1 to 3 when determining the distance that unit can move, you can use a value of 4 instead. Wholly within 12 of him. So basically, like his bodyguard, his honor guard in this season will get a better redeploy. Is I think how this is gonna work out. So whatever that means. Stuff, whatever's screening him just gets a little better redeploy. Gavapalooza maybe, right? They make a good screen for the big guy. And then the moon on a stick. It's actually not a bad profile. He's got a 6-up save, 6 health, 5 move, 2 control. But he does have a ward of 4-up, which is where he gets kind of hard to kill. The 4-up ward is good. Ask any questions, by the way, if anybody has any questions. I'm just kind of going through this, assuming you know what a ward is. But if you don't know what a ward is, let me know. Yeah. So, moon on a stick. 4 attacks, 3, 4, 1d3. Oops. Four attacks. And then with no modifiers, right? So he'll plunk out a couple points. I think the crazy thing, though, sometimes with these D3 units is that their maximum is actually 12 damage. Right? So, like, sometimes they can kind of go a little nutty. Instead of doing, like, a couple, they do, like, 8. Right? But it's like, you don't want them in combat. But sometimes they just, like, bonk the thing on the head, and it's like, it's dead. Like, the big Carnosaur comes in and Scraggy's just like, BAM! Yeah, redeploys, you do it on your opponent's turn. When they move close to you, you can spend a command point to, like, move your units a little bit, and you have to roll. Yeah, you do it on their turn, usually in your opponent's movement phase. Is that still a thing in 4th? Just like straight redeploy? It is, right? They had all the But it's all about his points too, right? So if I just look at this war scroll, I can say like, this is good. Like, this is a good war scroll. I like it. I like that they kept the ward. I like that they have this. What did he lose? He lost the light of the bad moon as an aura around himself. Right? He did lose that, that is a good ability. They removed it, which is kind of a bummer, but I'm hoping that his points kind of go down in exchange. Because before he was like 230 or something points. I'm kind of hoping that he's in that similar range. Like if he was in the 200 and change point range, I'd be probably happy. It's true that we're gonna see the malevolent moon coming a lot more now that all the gets know the lore. We have a good manifestation lore. Right, when you pick your spells, you get to pick like a lore, like all the spells, then you also get to pick. He's a wizard too, yeah. He is a wizard too. Yeah, like he's, good stuff, right? Like, but he's gonna have to be the general. Again, another good rule, because like having a Trog boss as your general, or like a Fungoid Cave Shaman as your general, and then taking Trug and Scragrot and just having everything unlocked for Battle Line was pretty sweet. It's like, oh, Rock Guts and Bounders are my Battle Line. It's like, cool. That sounds amazing. Amazing. Gobapalooza. Infantry or Wizard 1. So he's a Wizard 1 here. Moon Clan keyword. Terrible save. He has no ward, I guess. Oh no, he does have a ward. Okay. Bad save. Low move. Actually, decent health. Like 15 wounds for the whole unit, right? And like 15 wounds is actually a considerable amount of just wounds. And especially without Battle Shock anymore, like it's... Destruction got a buff in their resiliency just because Battle Shock doesn't exist anymore. Like, I think people are going to underestimate how scary orcs are now, forgetting about Battle Shock. Like, it doesn't feel after seeing these faction focuses that there's any punishment for destruction for gaining this huge buff. You know how many Bolt Boys I lost to Battle Shock? Oh my. No more. Your stabbers won't run away anymore. There's no more running away. That is over. They can die to a man now, like stabbers are supposed to. Yeah, and then they just run. They flee. Flee! Gets way worse than that, though. Okay, so they got, like, one of those D3 attacks. So there's, like, 5 dice with the D3, so you can get those weird, like, spikes. But most of the time, you'll just, like, bop a thing on the head or whatever. Hallucinogenic fungus. In the first battle round, this unit has a 4 up board, and the second battle round has 5 up board, and then it has a 6 up board. So it's kind of like, I've like been aggressive with them because I know they have a 4 up board and 15 wounds, right? So, and then they would rally on 4 ups too. So it was kind of like, okay, they can be kind of an aggressive screen and like take space, but not so much anymore. Snufflers are the same, right? Because Snufflers have a 5 up board, so these things and Fanatics are really fun because they're hard to kill, right? And they're good anyway. So it's got like this ward. No what's it on a roll a die on a 3 up, pick one of the following effects. Glareface Dance. Pick a friendly Gloomspike gets units within this unit's combat range within 3. Add 1 to the run rolls and charge rolls for that unit until the start of your next turn. +1 to charge is good. +1 to run is also good, but I feel like I have a feeling, I know that there's just better ones than this one. This one's fine, but you almost never take it. Nasty Poison. Pick a gets unit within 3 of this unit. Add 1 to the Ren characteristic of that unit's melee weapons until the start of your next turn. So this will not affect companions. That's right. This will not affect companions. So where this is best is if you could hit companions, but you can't. So This is good on Squigs, right? This was always this, so you can't do this on Squig Herd anymore, I guess. Or are they Beast? I can't remember. I'd have to look at their war scroll. Are they here? Yeah, so this is a companion, right? So where they have like all these attacks, right? It's like, well, you don't get rend. They can't get rend, right? So I don't know. Maybe it won't be as good anymore because that's what it used to be. You know, it used to be like give the Squigs rend. So if I'm reading this correctly, you can't, right? Whoa. I'm not misreading this. It's like this nasty poison can't be used on Herd. That's how I read it anyway. And then, or Mesmerize, pick a visible enemy within 12 of this unit until the start of your next turn. The unit cannot use commands. So this is a powerful thing. Not being able to use commands is strong. And now that commands are better, this one's better. So the rend looks like is worse, or at least the target will change. I wonder if, like, for example, Rock Guts have companion. Probably not. So like you could do it on Rock Guts. So it'll still be good. It just might not be good with Squigs. It might only be good now with Trolls, right? Or maybe Fanatics or like something, you know, like Moon Clan something or other. But I mean, it's a good change, I feel, overall to the game. Like it's a nerf, but I understand what kind of nerf it is. It's just kind of keeping things under control and making units with, like, if you have a unit and a companion, they always take buffs better. Not always, I shouldn't say that. But like, for example, in Orcs, the best thing to buff was like pigs, like the Gore Gruntas, Orcs riding pigs. Because if you give them +1 to hit, it's just a ton of dice. Right? If you give them +2 to rend, it's a ton of dice. So they just slap harder than anything else. Give them +1 damage. And same thing in Gits, right? It was just, you just play a ton of Herd because they just had so many attacks for how like their point value that if you just buff them, then they just got crazy good. So the rend one will be worse because you can't hit companions. So I don't think it's an auto pick anymore. This one is going to be situational. You have to sort of be close, but like I said, Goblet Blues is good at that. It's kind of good at getting close and doing stuff like weird shenanigans like this on turn 2, you know, and then on turn 3, it's like you have like better screens or, you know. Running charge is always good. The command point one is strong because the command is strong. Commands are going to be strong. Right? It's like turning off, the stronger something is that you turn off, the better the thing, right? Like it's, so I think that command points are going to be strong. And command abilities are strong in general. It's like, oh, you don't get +1 to save. Oh, you can't actually redeploy. Like, they can't use any commands. Until the start of your next turn. So it's like all, you know, all the rest of my turn and then all of your turn. They can't use commands. No, like nothing. So I mean, it's good. Like, it's good. Again, all about points. I think they're gonna be cheaper, and he's a wizard one too, so he can still cast like an endless spell. Like, he's still another cast in your list. He used to be 2 casts, and these things used to be better. And I don't think he had to roll. You just picked one. You just picked one of these, and he was a 2-cast wizard. But now you have to pick one, and you have to roll for it. And a 3-up isn't like it's getting into that territory, right? But this is the part that kind of gets me a little bit. But again, I think he's going to be cheaper, right? I think he's going to be cheaper, and I kind of like that. It means that I can sort of play like lots of heroes with lots of different abilities and effects, right? And then I can, like, you know what I mean? Like, I can kind of, so I'm okay with that. If he's not 180 points, if he's like 125 points or something, I can get behind that. So again, points, like the war scroll is weaker than it was, but you know, like it's still good. Like it, you know, it feels good. Okay, Squig Herd. D6 + 3. Not even a hero. Good, exactly. Right? Not even a hero. That's a good point too. Squig herd. So they have this. So basically, the squig prodder profile doesn't matter. It's all about the fang-filled gob, because there's 10 of these guys and 2 herders. So like the herders don't matter. It's all about the damage from the squigs. But they have companions, so this is like what they get. Except for if they charge, they get like the +1 attacks. They have 1 control maximum, not 1 per model, just 1, because they have this beast word, right? So they don't get to control objectives, which is weird. Well, it just means that like they're gonna play a different kind of role. Because hopefully they're going to be costed to be less. But it's like you can't just park a bunch of squigs on an objective. Right? So it's like they're not taking an objective. Instead, they're doing what? Well, again, we'll see what the points are like too, right? Like they might actually be like super cheap. So it's like, yeah, like you grab a couple reinforced units and you just like launch them up the middle of the battlefield. Like not like you don't care about the objectives. You're just like they're sort of just bouncing around and like they don't care about the objectives, so they're going to be like in weird positions. Right? Just like swarming, like going around, you know, or like screening out somewhere, not worried about being on an objective. Like, you know, you put like, you know, something on the objective and these guys are in front of them. I love squigs no matter what. Yeah, I know. Squigs are phenomenal. But like, we'll see. Like, if for their point cost, they give enough value to what your army is trying to do, like to your game plan, right? If the game plan that they sort of give you is good, and if you're able to like effectively manage it with the point costs of the units, then it's like, yeah, now the unit's good, right? It just depends on like what the role it serves. Squig's Gone Wild. Each time a model in this unit is slain by a combat attack, and that model was in combat with the attacking unit, roll the die on a 5-up, inflict 1 mortal damage to the attacking unit after the fight ability has been resolved. So if you die on a 5-up, you ping the thing that you were fighting for 1 mortal wound. 1 mortal damage. And mortals are good. Like, they got nerfed, or they're being sort of lowered in 4th. So the fact that this actually does mortals is still, like, significant. Like, that mortal wound is more than it was before. Yep. And a 5-up is, like, whatever. It's, like, a third, right? So if you have, like, 20 of them, you'll get, like, some. It's not amazing, but again, I'm hoping they're cheap. And they come back. For every squig herder at the beginning, at your hero phase, you get, on a 2-up, you get D3 herd or dudes back. So if it's a reinforced unit, you can get up to... You roll 4 dice, and for the 2-ups, you get D3, so you can easily get 4 D3 herd back. So they're kind of good at fighting things that are sort of also like flankers and screens. Right? Because like you sort of get them back, they recur. So they're good at like chewing through a flank, maybe. Tie units up. But they can receive commands, right? Unless there's somewhere else written that beasts can't receive commands. So it would say here, right? I think they'll still be fun. Like, I think that there'll still be a lot of fun. You can't double reinforce them in 4th, right? But... And they are 1 health. Like, because they're 1 health and they have a 6-up and you're not, like... I guess they're not going to flee anymore, right? Squigs don't always know when they're dead. That's hilarious. Well, they're 10 squigs and 2 herders per unit. So in a reinforced unit, it'll be 20 and 4. So it's a lot of mouths, right? 20 mouths, and then on the charge they're 4 attacks each, right? It's 80 dice, right? And 80 dice at 4s and 3s, 1 rend, 1 damage is not still a lot of dice. 80. Nope, it's not 80. It's 20 models? 4 attacks. 4, 3, 1, 1. Right? 17 damage against a 4-up save. Right? So it's like, even against a 3-up save, right? It's like 13 damage against a 3-up save. So if you have like a 5-man squad of like 3-up save, like Ard Boys or something, right? Like this kills 5 Ard Boys, which is pretty good. So like their damage is pretty good, right? Like, and they're all gonna get to fight. Like you're gonna consistently do this kind of damage. And the thing too with high volumes of dice, just mathematically, is they tend to like be way less swingy. They tend to really average out much better, right? So if your math is like, oh, like whatever, like this says against a 4-up save it'll do 18 damage. This is on the charge, right? But it'll deal 18 damage, and so that's reliably 15. Right? Like the probability that you're going to get 15 damage out of this dice roll is really, really high on a 4-up save. So then you say to yourself, like, okay, so whatever. Like it means that when you pick your targets, you're like, I can actually just wipe this thing out pretty reliably, right? Like a unit of brutes is 5 brutes is 15 wounds. So you can be like, I can just kill those 5 brutes. Like you can plan around it now. Well, we don't know what their points are. No, I've always felt that way. It's just kind of like a bummer having to roll that many dice, but whenever you roll that many dice, like you want the swingiest thing possible. That's why a kill bow was 1 shot. Right, a kill bow was 1 shot, and it's like, well, you know, 50-50 chance right away that I fail. Like, never know if I'm gonna get it. Super unreliable. Yep. What's next? Yeah, it's a lot of dice. Her is good. I like them. Great models. Okay. So the Loon Shrine can actually get shot at now and destroyed. 4-up save, 14 health. So yeah. So no more building around it. Right? There's like, if we just had the same enhancements from 3rd, like King's Gits and the Clammy Hand are just terrible now. Right? Because if you take them, your opponent goes, oh, and then they just like target your moon with their shooting. And then it's like, well, I've lost everything. My sub-faction is nothing, and my command trait is nothing. And that's, like, bad. Because, yeah, and then and then it's like you're getting nothing. Right. So it has a 12-inch light aura, which is the same as it was before, so fine. So once per turn army. End of your turn. So this is only at the end of your turn. Does this 1 mean it costs a command point? Is that what this 1 means? Yeah, so it costs a CP. Non-hero, non-monster, non-war machine unit that has been destroyed to be the target. Return half of it. rounded up wholly within 12 inches of this terrain feature and more than 3 from all enemy units. So it costs a CP, but there's no roll. There's no roll. Well, you don't have to build around it anymore because it's guaranteed to happen. So, like, you're still incentivized to reinforce units. But we'll see what a command point is, man. We'll see how bad it feels. You only get 4. This is one of your 4. So how good is what you're returning to the battlefield? Like, how good is it? Right? This will live and die with that. Probably too, right? Like, just... like, right now, like, paying a command point to get, like, 5 bounders back. Well, I feel like we should look at the command points. Because we're done with this. Oh, any idea where that is? I think I just saw it. Nope. Nope. Oh, shoot. Knocking over my beverages almost. What else we got going on? Oh yeah, I mean, I just do it for my own sake, right? Like, essentially that's what I'm doing. Like, I would be doing this anyway. But thank you for thanks for hanging out. What was I doing again? Commands. Okay, because, like, yeah, like, these are huge. Okay, so you get, so the start of each battle round, everybody gets 4 command points. The underdog gains 1 extra command point. Each unit can only use 1 command in each phase. Each command can only be used 1 time by each army in each phase, and you have to pay a command point. So it's like that rule of 1, right? Where it's like you can only use an ability once, right? In each phase, and only once each time. Cool. Yeah. So declare, react, resolve. Yeah. So all out attack is in the attack phase. It gives +1 to hit. All out defense is in the opponents or in the combat phase again. Gives +1 to save. At the double is a run. So instead of rolling for the run, you add 6 to the move characteristic of the unit instead. So it's like instead of rolling for 6, you just get 6. But it specifically says it changes the move characteristic. So that'll affect other things, I'm sure. Right? It's because it used to be different, but now it's like its move characteristic changes. Forward to victory, you get to reroll a charge. If you fail it, you just reroll it. Rally. This one's a little bit different. Make 6 rally rolls of d6. So roll 6 dice. For each 4-up, you receive 1 rally point. Rally points can be spent in the following ways. For each rally point spent, you can either heal 1 to that unit. You can spend a number of rally points equal to the health characteristic of that unit to return a slain model to that unit. You can spend the rally points in any combination of the above. Unspent rally points are then lost. So essentially, you can either heal or, like, return models. So if they're, like, 1 wounders, right? So you roll your 6 dice, right? And then for every 4-up, so you'll probably get, like, 3, like, you know, 3 of them, roughly, right? So you can like heal 3 or return 3 models or return a model and heal 1 or whatever it is, right? Depending on how much stuff they have. And then I learned today that if you have a musician, you get to add another die. So you get to make 7 dice rolls, which is like a fine little buff. Not a huge buff, but like a nice little one. Right, roll 7 dice. Maybe you'll get lucky and get all 7, right? You can like return pretty good. Redeploy is a really strong one. It's like a move. So this is in your enemy movement phase. Pick a unit that is not in combat to use this ability. Oh, has no trigger? Pick a friendly unit that is not in combat, right? So you can't pick your unit that's in combat. Each model in that unit can move d6 inches. And you have to stay out of combat. They buffed redeploy. They did. So now you just get to like pick any unit you want and move them. And I think in the way that it's going to work is that you do this after your opponent has moved all of their stuff. Because like on every turn, like your opponent is going to use all of their abilities, right? And move is an ability, and so is redeploy. So they're going to use all of their move abilities, and then you use the redeploy ability. So you just wait till your opponent has done their turn, and then decide if you want to redeploy or not. So they buffed it in many different ways. So it's like charge distances just went up, essentially. Covering fire, so this is during the enemy shooting phase. Pick a unit that's not in combat. It gets to shoot, but it gets -1 to hit, and it has to hit the closest enemy unit. So like you can't like really shoot at range. You have to sort of shoot the thing that's close to you. So it's like, yeah, you get to kind of shoot in your opponent's face. So positioning here matters a lot. This is where Cruel Boys are going to really like this, because we're going to sneak a unit so that the closest thing is the thing we want to shoot. Right? And then we do that during our move, and then we can shoot them, right? And then in our opponent's turn, they get to move, and then before they get to charge us or whatever, we can shoot them again. Right? It's like, okay. Like, this is going to be really good in Cruel Boys. It won't be good in Gloomspike Hits. Countercharge, however, will be. This is, again, in your opponent's charge phase. So after your opponent... So, again, this is weaker than I think people think it is. People seem to think it's like, oh, you charge your opponent. It's like, yes, but this is after your opponent has charged you with every charge they want. Right? So anyway, pick a friendly unit that is not in combat to use this ability. This unit can use a charge ability as if it were your charge phase. But again, this is after your opponent. It also costs 2 command points. Yes, very good. Everything else costs 1. But this one costs 2. So it's also very expensive. So that means that... so there's only 2 real situations where this is going to come up and be useful. Right? One is if your opponent is close to you and failed to charge. Right? And then you're like, well, I'll definitely charge you then. For example, if you have Boingrot Bounders, they get like extra damage and extra rend if they charge. And so this means that you get to initiate combat with you having charged instead of your opponent having charged, which means you'll be more explosive and hopefully like, you know, win that fight. So for 2 command points with the right units, if they fail their charge and you can sort of slap back, that seems really good. And the second situation I think you'll use it is if your opponent makes a mistake. If you have something like a Maw Crusher or like a big monster and your opponent gets too close to you, you can sort of charge them back, you know? Yeah, Cruel Boys could also do some crazy like long bomb stuff like this, where you like teleport a unit on their turn, right in their sneak. With your sneak, you get your sneak off, and then you're 9 inches away and you're like, I'm going to declare a charge at you, and it's 9 inches, right? But it's like you can still do it. Like you can still throw the dice at them. So it's gonna be great, and it's gonna be great for some armies. Yeah, it's gonna be great for some armies. Magical Intervention. This is in your enemy hero phase. You can cast a spell in their hero phase. So this is a little bit weaker than you would think, I think, because your opponent is always going to have an unbind ready for you. Like your opponent gets as many, so that your opponent can cast as many spells and like use as many unbinds as their wizard level. So a wizard 2 in your turn can use 2 spells and 2 unbinds. So if you're within 30 of your opponent's wizards, they're always going to have an unbind ready for you for this spell. So you can't like finesse your way. It's like they're going to try to unbind you. So for some people like Slans and stuff who want to stay out of range anyway, it might be like really strong. Like, this is again just like what spell you have and what armor you have and everything, right? So probably won't be amazing in destruction. Unless your opponents don't really have a lot of casters. Or like bad casters. And then again, just how good the spell is. Like the Gobsprak War Scroll spell is amazing. This would be really good, for example, on Scragrot with his Fangs of Debadmoon, because Fangs of Debadmoon is a really good spell. Oh, and you also get -1 from the casting roll. So, yeah. Yeah. Again, just how good the spell is. And then last but not least, we have Power Through. This is the end of the turn. So this is the last thing that you could do. And it's any turn. Okay, it's any turn. Pick a friendly unit that charged this turn to use this ability. Then, you must pick an enemy unit in combat with it to be the target. The target must have a lower health characteristic than the unit using this ability. So that's the key part. The target unit must have a lower health characteristic. So if you're a big monster, right, and you're charging into a unit of dorks, this is going to be easy to, this is obviously the case. And if you're like brutes or something that have 3 wounds, you'll be able to bully the smaller 2 wound and 1 wound guys. But once you're in that 2 wound range, this is kind of not going to happen. Like you could, right? But it's kind of not really, it's not going to play into your thought process very much, you know? And like the biggest, baddest monsters will be able to do this to the smaller monsters. So suddenly the health characteristic differential between you and your opponent's big things matters in terms of power through and what that means for what you can do. It's going to be one of those like 500 IQ plays that someone makes, right? Where they're like, oh, like everyone's just used to doing it to like battle line. And now you're like, oh, like this monster's bigger than that monster. Like, anyway, so what you do is you have to be in combat with this unit, right? So you inflict D3 mortal damage on the target. Okay, then the unit using this ability can move a distance up to its move characteristic. It can pass through and end that move within the combat range of enemy units that were in combat with it at the start of the move, but not those of other units. It does not have to end the move in combat. So you can like retreat it. It does not have to end the move in combat. But it has to stay out of the combat range of enemy units that it wasn't in already. So you might have to like worm your way out, but the key thing is that you get to move your move characteristic, right? So this is going to be like really strong on Squigs, for example, right? Because they can receive commands now as far as I can see, so they can get this. So they're going to charge, right? And on our turn, they're going to charge. No, because they have 1 wound, so never mind. They're going to be terrible. Never mind. They're going to be unplayable on Squigs. It'll be good on Gore Gruntas. Probably just, I mean, generally kind of bad in Gets, probably. Because everything that has a high move characteristic also has a low wound. Right? The trolls have more wounds, but they're slow. So, like, I could see maybe, like, the spiders being good. I could see this being good on, like, the big spiders. Right? Because they have a high wound and a high move. Like a Skitterstrand or Ragnarok, for example. I think this could actually be really good on. So you charge them in, and then they can, like, do it and, like, move again. So, like, you can do things like jump behind them with this move. Right, like cool things like this. So probably not great in Gits. In Orcs it'll be good with like, you know, all the pigs and Iron Jaws. Cruel Boys will have some monsters, right? So like that'll be good with some of the monsters in Cruel Boys. But Gits probably won't see a ton of this. Yeah, so maybe Gits Rally. They may be all out attack defense, probably not countercharge, possibly, and use the moon. Yeah, they might also like use the cast spells in your opponent's turn. Like they might have some really good spells, you know, and like some debuff spells, which I think are going to be good in your opponent's turn, right? Like they are going to buff their stuff, and you're going to be like, nope, sneak one debuff in there, one that you weren't expecting or whatever. But the commands are all strong. Like a lot of them got buffed. And Rally is different than third, but I think it's better because it's just a heal. Right? So you can just like heal a hero. Like 4. Right? And that has value, just being like, oh, like everybody has access to like a little heal. It's not just kind of broken. Right? And then the musician adds a die, right? So it's like another chance at another one, right? So like that's cool. I like that. Redeploy is better, covering fire is better, countercharge is really good, magical intervention is really good. Well, we'll see. It probably is. It probably is. Power through is really good. All of them are strong. And there's so many choices. So it's like you get 4. 1, 2. Okay. Any hero phase. 2 rallies. 1 redeploy, 1 covering fire, 2 countercharge, 1 magical intervention, 2 power throughs. So we're at 9 commands. 9 possible commands over the battle round. Right? End of any turn is 2. Magical intervention is enemy phase, so it's just 1. Countercharge is only enemies, so it's just 1. Covering fire is enemy shooting phase, so 1 again. Redeploy is enemy movement phase, so only 1 again. A lot of enemy stuff, actually. Any hero phase for rally is 2, right? So now I'm counting 8. 3, 4, 5, 6, 7... Okay, so 8 possible command points to spend. So, like... No, 9. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. So you have 4 command points of 9 possible things. Like, what are you gonna do, right? Like, what's your game plan? What's your game plan? If you don't have a game plan, you're lost. You're lost in indecision. If you have a game plan and you don't know what to do you know what you do? Your fucking plan. You just do your plan. Well, it said here I'm going to spend these command points, so that's what I'm going to do, because I don't know what else to do. When lost, just stick with the plan. So yeah, which ones are going to be good in Gits? Probably Rally. Rally's probably going to be good in Gits. Redeploy is going to be good in Gits. I'm thinking Squig specifically here. Covering fire is going to be bad because there's not a lot of good shooting. Countercharge is going to be good with things like Boingrot Bounders and things like Rock Guts. This was going to be more like, again, I think an opportunistic thing where your opponent failed their charge and you have something good that... And you're like, oh, that's so juicy. Like, they moved right up to 3 of me and then rolled Snake Eyes. And it's like, yeah, I'm going to jump on that, right? Like, and just smash into them. This is probably more opportunistic than plan around me. I have a feeling. Unless you have, like, some other shenanigans that mean, like, you can teleport and countercharge with buffs and stuff, right? Well, I just think in general, like, countercharge will probably be, in general, more opportunistic. Because I think that they're getting rid of things like teleports and, like, really over-the-top movement shenanigans. You know? Like, Mighty Destroyers is kind of, like, different, so it's not as explosive, it's not as, like, BS. So I think a lot of the time it'll be your opponent just, like, countercharge won't be something that you spend the command point on. Countercharge is something that you threaten your opponent with, and then they just stay away from you. right? It's more like a mind game thing. It's like, or it's like, you know, if you're going first, then you have to save your CP for a counter charge on their turn, so it's really late in the round, right? Like, if you go first, the counter charge becomes less likely. But if you're going second, then then your counter charge, you have lots of CP at the beginning. And it's like, okay, well, you have the initiative right now, but, or maybe like you know, so it's like there's like these weird mind games, but I think you won't actually use it. People will play around it, and every once in a while you'll catch somebody, right, that wasn't paying attention or something. But I think most of the time it'll be like, oh, you failed your charge, and my guys have a buff to charge. I'm gonna get you. Where things happen in the round matter a lot, and like there's this whole idea of like the stack now in Age of Sigmar, you know, like they were talking about that in some video. And people are going to have to kind of get used to that because it changes how powerful things are. Like when they happen matters a lot. So again, counter charge. Like it's strong. That's why it's 2 CP. Because it's got to be juicy for you to really want it. And it'll be really good on some things. Like it'll be good on big pigs, right? Because they get bonuses on the charge and stuff. So it's like, oh, your opponent's going to double turn you? Yeah, well, I'm still going to charge you, fool. Because that's just how good these pigs are. Right? Like, I'm still gonna charge you, even though you're doubling me. You really don't want to, like... So on your turn, you can rally. And power through. And then all-out attack and all-out defense. Oh, right. Oh, wait. No, there's way more. Oh, my God. 9, 10, 11... 12, 13... 14, 15... Yeah, 15. So there's 15 commands possible. You have 4 command points. And you're not getting any more. And you have 15 options of when to spend them. And we both do. And then you and Gitz have another one. Which brings back units. And you have 4. And they're all strong. But like all that attack and all the defense suddenly got worse. Like they're not autos anymore. Like when you think about a unit, what it does, you shouldn't be factoring all out attack or all out defense. Because that's all you would do. If you all out attacked and all out defense on my turn and your turn, that's all your CP. Right? That's it. That's all your CP. I mean, that might be a viable strategy, right? Instead of like, because like, this is a movement one, this is a movement one, this is a heal one, this is a movement one, this is a shoot one, this is a charge one, and then power through is kind of cool. Power through is great. It's cool to, yeah, it has to have charged. I mean, it combos well with counter charge. Like you can counter charge at somebody in their turn, which is like extra movement, right? And then you can power through at the end of their turn too, so you move again. This is going to be a real like a big play if you're going second in the battle round to like counter charge them and then power through and then it's your turn. Because you don't have to end the move in combat with power through, right? But to power through, you have to have charged. So it's like you counter charge and then you power through and then it's your turn. So now you're like moving and charging. There's not a ton of stuff to do on your turn. Rally, forward, right? These ones, I guess, right? Like the run and charge one. And then like all out attack, all out defense, right? But I don't know. I guess there's a fair number. Yeah, lots of good stuff here to think about for sure. Yeah, like it's crazy. Yeah, if you have a spread out unit and you think like, oh, I'll charge this unit, but wait, now I'm fighting exactly. It's like you can do weird stuff. Like it's going to be crazy to get used to. Again, just expect your opponent's going to do a lot more in their turn. It's going to be a mind game. Like, which one is my opponent going to use? And then it's going to depend on... And this is where I think that, like, you don't think about what commands you're going to use. You think about what list you're going to write. And then you write like, and then based on the list and your plan, you then decide what commands you're going to use. It's like, well, in my plan, I'm going to have this brick of unkillable dudes in the middle of the battlefield, and I never want them to die. It's important to my plan that this unit like marches into the middle and stands there and is immovable. Okay, cool. Well, I'm going to always reserve a command point for all-out defense. Right? Okay, so now I only have 3 left. Good night. Thanks for hanging out. It is getting kind of late, isn't it? How long have I been on here for? I've been sitting here BSing about Age of Sigmar for 2.5 hours. By myself. Yeah, alright. I tell my grandparents what I do. So yeah, I mean, commands are just going to be sick. Anything that like gives you anything that gives you a command like ability, like if it gives you +1 attacks, like it's good, because then you don't have to use it. Or if it gives you +1 save, like the Light of the Bad Moon on the Trogs, it's like awesome. That's a good ability, because then I don't have to use it. I can pick something else. Now there's only 14 possible options. It's going to be high skill ceiling. Like deciding like what to actually like you spend your command points on. It's going to be really high skill ceiling. And it's going to, because it's going to be really context contingent. Like if your opponent, like it's going to be so different. You will find patterns within armies. Right? It's like, oh, like obviously that shooting army like shoots a bunch, like, right? But like, oh, like when do you countercharge? And like, you know, when should you redeploy? And it is D6, so redeploy is like a risky one, because you can just roll a 1 and it sucks. So redeploy. Yeah, D6 is still a roll. I think redeploy is actually... Yeah, good night. Good night, good night. Yeah, redeploy is maybe not as strong as I thought it was. Like, they got rid of the within 9 inches. Yeah, we'll see. Yeah, I don't know. Rally's not really, like, over-tuned. Like, heal 3. Or return up to 3, like, slain models. Or 1 model that is 3 wounds. Like, you return a brute on average this way. So you can, like, spend 3 wounds or 3 on these and just return a brute. You don't have to, like, heal the brute to full and then it spills over, right? It's like you just get a brute back and the unit still has X wounds allocated to it. Because it just says, like, you can either heal 1 or spend a number of rally points equal to the health characteristic of that unit to return a... Right, so spend 3 to return a brute. I mean, getting a brute back for a command point... Again, this can fall into, like, your strategy, where it's like, well, I'm going to use a lot of rallies. Because my unit has, like, a 4-up ward. Right? And they're, like, 2 wounds, so I can, like, hopefully get 2 models back. Or 4 models back on a good battle round. And they're just going to, like, sit there and never die. Is rally better, or is all-out defense better? Think. All right. Anything else you guys want to talk about or see? Any other thing on your mind? Maybe a faction that you want to review? Probably got time for one more quick thing. Huh. Cool. Well, I think I'm gonna call it a night for myself as well. Thanks for hanging out. Ran out of topics. Oh, yeah. Good night. Good night. Good night. Good night. Good night. Good night.